Okay.
They turn it back around. They get the Kunkka, so we'll have to wait, put a pin in Sacred's hero, because Beast Coast need a Sacred hero. But I think most likely we're probably going to see them flex the Silencer and the Treant, depending on whether or not Sacred's on a melee or a ranged hero, and then slotting in the players on those heroes depending on that situation. But is a very different route that I thought they were going to go for. And of course, if they immediately paired it with the Snap, then the Silencer pickup makes slightly more sense. And love that pick from Alliance.LATAM. They see the Kunkka, they see their mid lane, get Death Prophet versus Kunkka, a classically favored matchup for the DP, and then you immediately answer the Terrorblade, and you got a Tiny with it. It just makes sense. We've seen Darkseer be a very underutilized hero in NASA for a while now, so I'm just loving the love here for the hero. Just perfect pick.
Your Darkseer can get done here as opposed to BT the last time we saw it. They didn't lane it with a melee hero. They didn't put it in the greatest position, so hopefully for Alliance.LATAM, I mean, they know just how powerful this hero can be for them, and they put him in positions to succeed, and my only concern now is Lumiere is going to have to do a lot of damage. Like a lot of damage. Because Darkseer and Death Prophet can burn you slowly over a long fight, but in terms of just getting in there and finding target A and killing them as quickly as possible, they're not quite as impressive.
Yeah, and we'll see, because I think versus Kunkka, sadly, Darkseer is not the escape artist that he can be versus some other heroes. X Marks is a pretty great answer versus you, and is a pretty vulnerable lane. So always going to have to be very wary of Dark Mago's rotations. Otherwise, you can give up quite a lot of speed. But I do wonder now, what are you going to pick versus Mr. Parker? What is going to be your answer versus Terrorblade? Will it be the Drow? Will the Drow get banned out in a few seconds here? Could also see them look for something like probably a sniper, just in that same vein, very similar heroes, but just depending on what Sacred ends up laning, they're going to change everything based on that fact. Even though Beast Coast, they've got some pretty easy bans in front of them. I think the Morphling just hits pretty much all marks there for Lumiere, as well as it just being a Lumiere, just traditional hero. The one pitfall I don't want them to go into is I really don't want to see Lumiere on the Faceless Void again. I think, yet again, they've got kind of slow damage. They've got decent burst with the Tiny, but there's no kisses. There's no super duper magical kill them in that chronosphere, that 5-second period. All the damage is there, but it's over much more extended periods of time. I just don't want them getting baited into that situation. And Beast Coast aren't even going to let it happen. So perfect. Awesome. Beautiful.
Ban it away, and yeah, an opponent's ban that maybe does Alliance more good than it does harm. So the Snapfire ban at the very end there. So they're still showing that respect to Sacred, right? Weaver and Snap both taken away. At this point, ET, well, I don't know. What are they looking for here? If they want just something maybe kind of beefy and boring, right? There's Tide, there's Centaur, there's Underlord still hanging around. So they can get that hero that's just going to build those utilities, get your Greaves, and sort of go from there. But is that the direction they look for? Do they put Sacred on something maybe a little bit greedier, maybe more damage-oriented? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's where the smoking gun right now is probably just Beastmaster. Just go for the simple hero that is let through. Versus Jakiro, it can be a little bit problematic, so could see them also veer away, but that's where they can't pick anything too weak into Monkey, and they switch things up entirely. Okay. And I can only imagine now that Schofield is going to play Treant Protector, and then we have our melee +4 and ranged +3, but that's very different. I don't even know if that's the laning setup, to be honest, because they could also move things around with the Kunkka, and that could be what they're doing right now, because they're dodging out the DP Kunkka lane, put Dark Mega on the left track, and then send Sacred on 3 Kunkka. I feel like that's what Beast Coast are doing here, which again is nice because it dodges out that DP lane. But Lumiere, if you want to play Monkey King, you could just play Monkey King right now, make it an abysmal lane for Kunkka, and then it's that other counter pick that we saw Alliance do exactly as before, as they do have last pick again here, but I did not expect them to pick last track of all things, though.
And depending on what this last pick is for Alliance, I mean, Sacred on a Kunkka could work out for them. You just go for the durability, the utility build, and your opponent, or your direct sort of counterpart in the Darkseer, he's not going to massively outpace you in terms of his damage output, so going for utility on a 3 Kunkka is going to work just fine, so long as this last pick isn't something that just kind of ruins them, and it is that Monkey King that you mentioned, which does not kill the Kunkka entirely, but it's not going to be a fun time.
See, now, the really funny thing would be if now, because the Monkey King gets drafted, they just switch it back. And
Oh, they do.
yep, I mean, there you go. Yeah, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes sense. That's an impossible lane for Sacred. Maybe this was always going to be the plan from the beginning, but that's so funny. And yeah, it's a forcing move. It works. And Lumiere has to be constantly afraid of the matchup versus the Terrorblade. It's where Alliance.LATAM have to be really careful about the meta, but it's also playing TB versus Darkseer. So will Vitaly be an answer enough to make that matchup close a little bit? Almost certainly, but that's pretty funny. But Lumiere's on one of his best heroes. Dark Mega's back on Kunkka. Sacred's on a ranged offlaner, which, you know, is pretty much right in his wheelhouse, but we'll have to see, because Beast Coast have a balancing act yet again here. They've got 3 very, very hungry cores. Everybody wants farm. Everybody wants defensive items. And they've got a pretty good early timing, but then after that, that's the problem. When you need a second item or a third item to answer what Alliance are throwing down at you, where Alliance are very casual. They get Greaves, they get a 1 BKB, they get a little bit of farm here, there. Lumiere probably gets a Battle Fury, and then their lineup is just a little bit more cohesive.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be able to do more on the map with fewer resources, whereas Beast Coasts have got to secure map control pretty quickly to be able to feed all those cores, as you said. And, well, I mean, you do have a Leshrac, right? So you've got some sort of potential in terms of your battering ram hero if you are trying to focus down some towers, but we'll have to see how well Alliance.LATAM can play that sort of defensive game with their own structures here, because if they could shrink the map, if they could make Beast Coast sacrifice someone, then their team fight power on Alliance.LATAM could be enough to see them through.
Yeah, and that's where you're also playing Death Prophet versus Treant. Every exorcism needs to result in a tower. You cannot go for that kind of wishy-washy, oh, we almost killed a tower. There's a Treant in the game. Schofield's going to heal these bad boys up. And right now, a group effort here to close off Sacred. And oh, Sacred, little do you know what is coming for you here. The Luigi's going to make it slightly more difficult, but there's just no way for him to turn around.
And Analog's the one to get it as well, so get some money directly into your mid laner's hands. Schofield is still going to be able to get away. Drop a ward down as he goes, so he's got that going for him. But Alliance.LATAM, exactly the kind of play that they need to make there. Try and just make a statement early, get one of your cores off to a stronger opening, and see where that takes you here in this mid matchup.
Yeah, and then spread out a little bit. Play some very nice vision from before, but we'll have to see. Schofield's kind of got the hard job right now, and we'll see if maybe a lot of creep pull action ends up happening here. Even though right now, Schofield, okay, trying to assassinate the ranged creep, but I think is too slow to actually get the hit, so Lumiere might just straight up deny it. And yeah, Schofield, oh boy. Well, this was a fail.
Very interesting attempt, but yeah, that does not do what he wanted it to do in the slightest, but it's not going to cost him too much, all things considered, and just means Sacred has to play a little bit more carefully, but Schofield is getting hit up a little bit. Gardic just trying to harass him as much as possible, and well, we'll see what else the Treant has in store here. He's just going to go for another pull and taking this one away with him. So if at first you don't succeed, well, try again. He is going to take some damage, though. Between Gardic and the creeps themselves, he is getting a little bit beat up, but he's got Tangos, he's got Leech Seed. Should be fine.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, what is this? Let me show. Wait for a pull of his own here, and well, Vitaly's here too. Okay. Very weird stuff.
Yeah, now, well, fortunately for Alliance.LATAM, as long as these creeps don't get denied from Stinger, even though that's absolutely what he's focusing on, this worked. This was a slight success for them, even though now things are going to get harder, but Parker makes the connection. Now all he has to do is try and drag these creeps from the ghost camp into the actual creep wave, or okay, he lets those go through as well. Man, oh man.
Misho
Don't you love
grabs
Dota
him.
2?
And El Misho doing that allows Parker to get the aggro back, and this is just unbelievably weird. All the creep waves are just sort of moving around. Parker does miss a couple of last hits there under the tower, but at this point I think Parker's just going to be happy if this gets back to normal equilibrium. This is kind of how it goes with the Darkseer, right? You use the Ion Shell, you push the lane, you do some creep skipping here and there, and it all ends up looking a little bit funky. But if it's getting the Darkseer farm, I don't really think you care. Although he really didn't get a crazy amount of farm. He's got 3 last hits. That's it.
Yeah. And really, it's just free XP now. He got what he wanted. He killed his entire creep wave underneath the tier 1 tower, so finally the wave pushes hard into him, so they get what they want. Even though meta is also back up, so maybe Parker's going to find some more harassment onto him. But this is what they've kind of vied for this entire time. But it is still funky to watch. But now we're level 3. Got 2 points up in the Ion Shell. Tiny actually does damage, and does need to be a little bit careful, though, because now this is happening, and
getting
well,
body
he really
blocked.
doesn't want to cast a spell, but...
Oh, Parker hits him with the slow. Needs 1 or 2 more right clicks to actually get the kill, though, and he will get it. Misho not quite careful enough to avoid that, but over on the other side, Schofield does get himself caught out. Lumiere had to step away from the lane for a little bit to actually secure that, but they are able to make the kill happen. Sacred, though, got maybe a half a wave, full wave's worth of experience where the lane was empty.
Yeah, just being very efficient with his time. It's where Schofield really feels like the only one without a place in this game right now. Just playing the awkward 4-position Dream Protector when his hero isn't really well equipped. Also playing versus Jakiro directly is just not fun. He's pretty much your direct counter with the attack slow. You just can't actually use the damage bonus that your hero has. And you're also playing versus a Monkey King, so Lumiere is very quick. He's very capable when it comes to making rotations, so is annoying, but does give soul XP over to Sacred. And of course, once Sacred has level 6, he can be a little bit more of a bully with that Pulse Nova, but until then, kind of sucks. Kind of gives a lot of farm over to the Monkey King, but could be worse.
In the meantime, Dark Mago denies, or has the rune denied rather, but he doesn't get the rune, so he just TPs himself back to base with the X trick. He's going to be just fine. Over on the other side of the map, though, Lumiere. Well, maybe he gets this kill into Schofield? Nope. Schofield denies himself to the neutrals, but the Monkey King was able to basically outrun the heroes chasing him. Sacred and Stinger didn't have the range or the mana, so it's unfortunate that you don't get that kill, but you don't really lose anything either.
Yeah, and even though the Tiny's putting pressure onto Parker top, well, he doesn't go down either, and he is put under a lot of pressure, and they're going to start Darkseering up that top lane, so that's why the Silencer leaves, because Stinger would just be another body on the Pyre, because that lane is about to collapse, but we'll see. And look at this, they get Schofield a home. Doesn't have Nature's Grasp, so holding this tower is a little bit scarier, but they're finally getting these heroes where they probably should have been from the start.
Yeah, the switch up in the lane was an interesting choice as, oh, Parker? Well, you weren't safe just yet. He kind of just assumed that the duo had shoved off from the lane, and unfortunately, he popped meta in that as well, so that is very rough. Still had wand charges, just did not anticipate that the duo was sort of waiting for him.
Yeah, gets taken down, gets very hard punished. And we'll see. For now, though, does return to the lane. Doesn't really want to kick out Sacred just yet. Sacred wants to keep on being in his lane. As soon as that bottom tier 1 is cracked open, then we probably see the rotation of the Terrorblade. But until then, we're chilling. But look mid. Huge play, huge rotation in, and it's gonna be a kill on the Dark Mago. Nothing you can do. And that was an Arcane Rune Exo as well, so that'll be back up even faster. Just snowballing a good few things there.
You're really taking advantage of a bit of an early power spike, getting some damage onto the tier 1. The living armor, though, and the glyph will be deployed, so kind of slows their progress a little bit, but they're still going to try and push this. The cart didn't go down, so Beast Coast have to respond. Stinger's going to TP in. They're bringing the Kunkka back in as well. Dark Mago, can he find any sort of X? He's looking for one. He does spot Gardic. And do they have the damage for this? Yeah, they do. Okay. Able to find the kill. Analog, though, does come back into the fight. That Exo healed him all the way up, so he's going to just try and punish Stinger, but the living armor is helping keep Stinger alive for an extra moment or two, but it's just not enough. Analog did not care, kept on pushing, and while all of that goes down, ET, Lumiere was able to pick off Sacred because they were basically left in a 1v1.
Yeah, and Amisha had a little bit of an appearance in that fight. Tiny got barely involved, but it just goes to show you can't really leave these heroes alone, especially not the Monkey King. Give Lumiere a pretty nice EXP advantage over Sacred. If Sacred's level 6, then there's no way he really goes down without kicking and screaming and using his entire mana pool on the Monkey King, but that little advantage, pretty much all that results in the kill. Back again, Dark Mago in the river. Taking a lot of damage. These siphons, it's the classic counter, but does get the illusion rune, even if he does get it forced out of him.
He should be able to just walk his way out of this one, but man, it's about 2/3 of his health that gets just taken away there. And now Analog has Exo back up again. That Arcane Rune earlier keeps it on a short cooldown, so they're looking for the tower, but at the same time, in the bottom lane, Lumiere and Amisha are gonna get caught. They make their move, going in for the kill. Speaking of kills, though, Schofield, he is getting chased here. The slowest and most boring chase you will probably ever see. As Vitaly just tries to chunk him down with the Ion Shell, and I mean, Schofield is really lasting a long time. Long enough for reinforcements to get here, so cool. Vitaly kills him, but now he has no way to get back out.
Yeah, gets taken down. Does buy out, so he's got the full mech awaiting him when he respawns and doesn't lose any gold, but Parker gets to return back to his lane after farming a ton of neutral camps as level 7 with a kill onto the Darkseer. That's pretty perfect stuff.
And does take the Avatos combo to the face there, so his HP is a little bit iffy, but he's got a shared tango pass to him. He's going to rotate into the jungle and work his way back into a stronger position. In the meantime, though, well, eyes turn to Dark Mago at this point. He does have the ghost ship back up, so could very well be the man deciding where the next play happens. Analog does not have Exo up for a minute, so probably not going to see much movement from him.
Yeah, he's anchoring down a little bit, going for the Yule's build as well, for obvious reasons at this point, but looking up towards top, Dark Mago getting involved in Stinger, trying to hold him down. Vitaly did get the surge off though, so this kill is going to be a little bit more hectic, but will it be enough? Is there enough heals? I don't know. This is feeling like it's just his death now. Amisho, gotta be careful he doesn't go down as well, but I think it's probably too late.
Sacred comes in to get the second of those 2 kills. Stinger, meanwhile, along for the ride, getting some int stolen up to +12 for him. And, well, said Dark Mago was the guy who was going to decide where the play happens, and he does exactly that. Gets into the jungle for a moment as well, because, well, Parker sort of rotated himself over to the east. So they find kills. They're still farming well, and we talked about how important that was, right? With this Tricore, no one can really afford to be sacked, and well, so far, really no one is. Even the Terrorblade has caught up and surpassed Vitaly and Lumiere, who he was kind of trailing behind both of them a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and this is somewhat of a concern for Alliance.LATAM. They need to get Lumiere involved. With the mid tower going down so early, it's not an easy fight for him to partake in. He surely isn't able to get top very easily. He'd have to TP there and then give up this entire bottom side to the Terrorblade. And that's the matchup that Beast Coast exactly want. They want the TB and the Monkey King facing each other because TB's just going to send illusions out while they isolate the rest of the lineup for this fight top. Look at this. Overgrowth's going to come through. They need to get these kills fast.
They're trying their best. Sacred does get a little bit of a heal in, but it won't be enough. Stinger and Sacred will both go down, but Analog is dropping as well. But they stick around for the tower. That may cost them their lives here. Yeah. Tali's going to die. Supports are just trying to wait, see if Lumiere wants to come in, but Schofield cuts his tree. So he's just out of it for a while. Dark Mago did not kill his actual target with that. Instead got Gardic on the Tidebringer. And look at the distraction here. Dark Mago, he knows his angles. You think he doesn't know how to play Kunkka? This man has it all figured out, except for this part. This part, he didn't quite do the math on. Lumiere just says, I'm absolutely sick of this. I'm dropping my ult. And it gets him the kill.
Yeah, and he's hopping out of there. He's escaping. He knows that he got away with murder, but it is still an ultra kill for Dark Mago at the end of the day. So much gold falling into the Kunkka's hands. Gold that gets exchanged ever so slightly into Lumiere's, but that's the problem. It takes so long for Lumiere to respond, and he doesn't TP. At the end of the day, he leaped all the way from bottom into that fight, and guess what happened during that time? Parker just farmed. He stayed bottom. He farmed up the triangle, he farmed up the wave, he took everything, and that's exactly what Alliance.LATAM need to avoid. That can happen only once or twice. Suddenly, that farm, that space becomes real items, tangible things for Parker to then start to win the game for his team a little bit. It's where there's always going to be this pressure on the other side of the map that you either have to kill or you have to win your team fights, and that was certainly a big loss for them.
Yeah, and as you said, at least they're able to get the kill onto the Kunkka at the very end there to pull something back, but still got to be considered a loss for them overall. Though if Parker gets caught here, this would be big, but there is going to be the global silence. Almisho loses the surge. Dark Mago now TP's in. And Almisho's still going to try for this. He got the Ava, he got the toss, but the ghost ship now comes in. And the Tiny is going to get punished for this one eventually. Had to wait for another Tidebringer, but the good news if you're Alliance.LATAM there is that Vitaly sort of saw the writing on the wall and just backed it off, didn't go in himself, so it's just the Tiny that you lose, but they were unbelievably close to a kill on a Parker.
Yeah, and that is expensive. That is global. That's another living armor that isn't cast on a tower. That's space and time, and specifically Dark Mago's time, that you are wasting a little bit, but, you know, you do get the return kill, you do get to defend your Terrorblade, but now it's up to Alliance.LATAM to find a team fight, to find that next big play. Even though right now, a little bit of a struggle, but this is a retreat. You have to get out of here in Dark Mago. Oh, he doesn't want to go down like this, but he's not walking out of this one very easily.
Sacred's going to come over to try to help. Even Parker getting involved, and now they're going to turn. They have the X. The Eul Scepter, though, is going to keep Analog alive, and Sacred, that is so far forward, but he's not dying, ET. Eventually he goes down, but it works perfectly. It baits it. Parker's able to get in, and what seemed like a massive overextension will get them some big kills, but they want a little bit more. They do need to watch out for this Wukong's command, though. Gardic trying to hold his ground. Mech from Batali bought him a moment or two, but it will not be enough, and look at the way they're dancing. They are waiting for that Wukong's command to end. They get the X, they get the ghost ship. No, they don't. Mischief is definitely super fair and balanced, and then the Surge gets him away.
Yeah. Very nice. A very quick, spry bounty rune. Gets him out of that one. But if they lost Lumiere there, what a disaster. It's so fortunate, actually, that they get the Monkey King out. And it messes with the Kunkka's timing ever so slightly, which lets him walk away. But if they lose Lumiere, that is just the worst feeling in the world. And, oh, he's fine. He's going to get the Torrent down. He's going to get slowed up or stunned up. And okay, walks that one away.
Man, Almisho, I mean, he was surged up. Tried to make a play, but that is going to cost him. Tidal Wave comes in, pulls him back, Sacred gets the kill, and at this point in ET, it feels like it might be in everyone's best interest just to maybe back off for a second.
Yeah. Shard's now picked up from Dark Mago. So obnoxious. What a great shard. So slept on. Slept on for years. But that's kind of the name of the Dota at this point. Everything that slept on is finally getting forced into the upfront. As that was just an X to secure the regen rune. Regen rune the Dark Mago will get. But this is not okay. Alliance.LATAM have EXO. They've had to wait out the entirety of that global silence CD, and Beast Coast just didn't get punished for it. And now, this is insane. They're smoking up with Silencer and a low Terrorblade to global into Sunder. This is their play. This is psycho.
This can't
but
work. This cannot be allowed to work. Oh, they're gonna get it. Vitali goes down. That's the dumbest play I've ever seen. I cannot believe they were allowed to do that. And they're gonna get Omisho in the river too. This... My god.
The definition of a high-risk, low-reward situation, and they just, they make it work. It looks fine, but that's just so funny. What's the confidence, Beast Coast are just doing what they do. They're obnoxious. They're in your face. The most casual use of global as well. They just don't care. But now, Alliance.LATAM, it's time to go. It's time to get some revenge here. They don't have global. You have to fight versus boat still, but this is where they should find those opportunities, but it's just so difficult for them to fight. They've also delayed up a lot of their BKB timings to go for these more casual items. As top, Overgrowth, Lumiere, probably just gonna have to leap away in one, but he gets interrupted.
And they have him caught. He has no mana left. They slow him down. They'll get the silence onto him now as well. Lumiere gets picked off. Stinger. Well, it's starting to become actually worth keeping track of. 18 stolen int and a Veil. He is going to start to do a little bit of extra damage, but Alliance.LATAM make the most of a bad situation. Our Monkey King's caught. We can't get to him in time, so let's pop the Aegis. Excuse me. Pop Exo, get the Aegis, and try to make something from that. But ET... Well, okay, you have the Aegis. That's great, but now... You can't do anything with it because you don't have Exo and you don't have your Monkey King. They're trying to go onto Dark Mago anyway, and honestly, they are dropping him pretty low. They're going to be able to finish him off, but can Analog now somehow get himself out of this fight? Maybe he doesn't need to. He is just actually standing his ground, fighting up against Sacred. They will kill Sacred, and now Parker, he's in trouble. No BKB. Can he get off Asunder? No, he can't, and Beast Coast just walk to their deaths. One by one.
Yeah. They get deathballed. It's nighttime. They have no vision. They have no global silence. It's just now come back off cooldown. Schofield was in no position either to really make anything happen there. Of course, he didn't have his overgrowth either. But the cores from Beast Coast definitely flub up a little bit there. And now, 2 BKBs are on the horizon for Beast Coast. So going to make the Kunkin, the TB's lives actually playable. They can actually stick around in these fights that aren't initiated by themselves, but not only have you given the Aegis now over to the Alliance.LATAM, you've given a full Blink Dagger to Omisho, who can now fully play Tiny. He can set up his own plays. You're getting Lumiere some more space as well, who, maybe only got to participate in the tail end of that fight, but got some very valuable XP and is now going to look for his BKB. So the game has just gotten a whole magnitude more difficult now. And Beast Coast have still not cracked open this mid tower either. They've not gotten that last early game objective. So Alliance.LATAM are actually ahead of them in that regard.
And they are rallying around their own tier 1 here. You see it's 3 or 4 heroes hanging out. Actually, the full 5 hanging out in the river here. But, well, the question is, what do they want to do with this? 5-man smoke. Going to try to wrap their way back around mid, but because they go for that play, they did end up losing that tower, but they still want the fight. There's the global, though. Into the Overgrowth. Parker's going to just pop the meta, start dishing out the damage, and they take down Omisho right away. But the wall is thrown down. There's no immediate vacuum, though, so everyone just kind of walks away from it. And they want to go back in. Analog does get caught. Tidal Wave pulls him in. Wukong's command is well placed, but the Ghost Ship is better, both in terms of placement and timing. So Monkey King dies. They get through the first life on the Death Prophet. Analog's just going to try to make a break for it, but he doesn't get very far before they lock him down.
Oh, and that's just worst case scenario. They get too close to the high ground. They get caught up in a fight that they cannot win. And BKB gets delivered for Parker right at the last second there. Looked like a pretty great engagement for them, but then that BKB gets delivered. and then it's blown wide open, as well as a slightly misplaced wall. Didn't get a single TB illusion, not even on the initial cast. Parker was just able to navigate around it, and then, well, it all kind of blows up in your face. And then instantaneously, after that fight, all of the net worth just falls into Beast Coast pockets. I don't know how they do this. It's insane. There's only 2,500 gold exchanged in that team fight, and they're now at a 9k gold lead.
Just so good at extracting every last bit that their opponents, I would say opponents give them, but it feels like in a lot of these circumstances, Beast Coast is just stealing it straight up. So, yeah, 9k lead. They took the towers. They're going to go for another tower down bot. So, I mean, all of this started, what, looking around that sort of tier 1 mid, and that tower's gone. Tier 2 mid is gone. Tier 2 bot is gone. So, you know, we find a little bit of that extra gold, but East Coast just right back on top. Parker now has a full Sanjin Yasha built up. He's gonna go for damage here. Not looking for the Scotty play or anything like that just yet. Instead, the Daedalus queued up for him.
Yeah. He's just looking to chunk through the Monkey King and the Death Prophet. Doesn't want to wait up at all. The Sanjin Yasha is a little bit strange for me, especially since there is that that Crobulous silence, so you can just sneak out. Don't have to pop your BKB necessarily, but it certainly makes you more of a stat king, which we also know players like Parker and Katara love to be. But the Daedalus is a killer. It's where you cannot just sit there with your BKB. You need an item in addition to the BKB if you're Lumiere. You need a Satanic. You need an AC. You need actual survivability at that point. Same for Analog, who hasn't really been able to pick up a plate mail or any item that's going to build from it. So where we do have a pretty big physical damage problem just up ahead. Not to mention as well, if Dark Mega is going for the exact same build, he's got the AC queued up, which he does. Well, it makes that physical damage even more brutal. There's another smoke up from Beast Coast. One that is coming at the same time as Almisho and Vitali kind of awkwardly are also out in the base, but it's time to go maybe. Oh, but Almisho went in.
There's the global. They're only getting Almisho for now, or maybe not. Yule Scepter is going to be there to cancel the Jakiro's TP, so Gardic will be caught as well. Eventually. There we go. Dark Mega comes in. Tidal Wave gets the kill. Lumiere picked up his BKB while that went down, ET, but he had to disassemble the Echo Saber in order to actually get it that little bit earlier. And as you mentioned, if this Daedalus is completed, BKB alone won't be enough. Now the push is coming.
No Aegis, just 2 heroes dead, and of course the supports are valuable, but also knowing there's no glyph. I mean, they gotta go soon, and
back
what a
wall.
great back.
They got the combo down, a lot of damage being done. The Ghost Ship, though, is coming through, and everyone's clearing out from the ring. Silencer trying to TP home, but the Yule Scepter will cancel that TP, but they caught Analog. They pull him back in with the Tidal Wave, so they are willing to let this trade happen as Stinger hoping someone could force staff him away, but at this point, his sacrifice is going to be worth it unless Parker dies. Can he find a Sunder target? Yes, he can. Sunders up Gardic, heals himself to full. Lumiere dies. Gardic will fall. Almisho caught outside of the base, and ET... I mean, it looked good at the start. Vac wall onto 3, but the follow-up just wasn't there in time.
Yeah, it's just not enough damage. It's not quick enough. They use their BKB as it comes out so fast. Dark Mega's just laughing to himself. He's just having a ball. Tipping Parker a little bit, you know, just having some fun with it. But they're in a great spot. They're in a fantastic position. Do need to be careful about sticking around too long here, but I hazard to say Alliance.LATAM are going to feel confident for making a jump right now. They don't have their BKBs, neither do Beast Coast. They need some crazy toss back, and it's just not there. They're afraid. They're afraid of the Kunkka, especially. They just don't want to get picked off anymore, and they do hold the glyph, but this is all time that meta is not there. They're 60 seconds before meta's back up. They would like to go soon, but they don't have Exo. It's the worst possible timing for them.
Yeah, they don't have Exo, they don't have the wall, they don't have Wukong's command for a few more seconds, so they would love to make a play, they just don't have any ammo. Everybody's tapped, so East Coast walk away, effectively double their net worth lead there, just shy of 18k in their favor now, and Alliance.LATAM. I mean, ET, there's still a world where they pull this off, but they need this team fight to go the way that they envisioned it when they drafted for it. It just hasn't all come together in the right order, and I think most importantly, in the right place as well.
Yeah, and this is their desperation smoke. They need to get out. They need to find a high ground, and they need to hope that Beast Coast walk into them. But there's a Parker illusion top. As soon as it hits that tier 3, Beast Coast should immediately go on red alert, play some vision of their own, and then hunker down. But this is basically it.
Okay.
Parker's just playing right now. But here we go. They get their jump.
Bet you
BKB,
wish
though.
you had that Sunder now, though, huh? Whoops. And ladies and gentlemen, that is why we don't do that. It's only going to cost Stinger his life, but yeah. Maybe don't just randomly Sunder. It did cost him his BKB as well, right? Not having the Sunder meant he had to pop the magic immunity and just back off. So now Alliance.LATAM are looking at, 60 extra seconds that they weren't supposed to have.
Yeah, they get to actually fight for this Roche now, which, right now they're kind of killing Gardic because he's standing under a ward that, yeah, his sentry just missed, but gotta be careful now. Nobody else can afford to die here. But this is also Beast Coast confidently taking what is a 4v4 now because they just killed the hero. But they're trying to look for BKBs. They're trying to force things out of you. And Analog cannot afford to die.
He does pop it, but Schofield, he's waiting. They use the global silence first, though, but that does not allow them to kill the Death Prophet. It does, however, allow them to completely avoid this Wukong's command. They just step out of it, and now they go in. The Overgrowth is going to be there. Lumiere's locked down. Parker, though, without his BKB, does get stunned up by the Ice Path, but it just doesn't matter. Sacred says,
Yeah.
I got this. Jumps in, picks up the triple kill. And Alliance.LATAM are just going to go down like a house of cards at this point. Analog is finished off, and Vitali should make it back into his base. He's got to go all the way to the fountain at this stage because Sacred is chasing him, but that's it. Yeah, GG called. They had 0 buybacks available there, so they really just banked everything on one last fight, but Sacred just tears them apart.
And of course, Parker infected his teammates. The mantles of intelligence dropped. Just a sign of utmost respect and dignity, Even though that's definitely not what's been used for in the past. But no, a very good 2-0 from Beast Coast. Just super confident, just doing what they did before. And of course, probably still need to analyze what went so wrong in their NA matchup. But versus SA, they're right at home. They know these guys. This is the DPC all over again. And there's just not enough time. Alliance.LATAM just don't have enough new ideas to go against them. Analog held down the fort for a while in that game and had some nifty plays there with the Death Prophet, but it's just too much. Dark Mago is too good. Sacred's also just anchoring down, becoming that secondary core. It felt like Beast Coast had 2 mid laners, and Parker's just farming, just cooking away, just doing his own thing. But this is also a pretty fantastic setup for tomorrow. This is what you want out of your lower bracket. 2 teams definitively 2-0, now have to go against each other. I mean, this is perfect. This is going to be the best Dota we could possibly ask for.
2 squads that, maybe stumbled a little bit to drop down into this lower bracket, but these were very much confidence rebuilding victories for them, so they are going to be set to go up against each other, and well, we might as well, ET, because we were just talking about it. Let's show the folks the bracket, just so that everybody knows exactly what is coming up here. 5-rat 4 staff with a 2-0 over Ravens advance. Beast Coast with this 2-0 over Alliance.LATAM will advance. Those 2 squads will face off against each other tomorrow. And then, of course, our other matchup will be the upper bracket finals, Nouns versus Shopify Rebellion. So we've got, honestly, some pretty spectacular matchups across the board there.
No, very exciting games. Only gets better. I mean, we've been saying it the entire run that these games only are going to get more and more intense. And I think that head-to-head NA matchup is going to be huge, especially for Nouns. This is kind of their proving grounds to see, well, are we good enough at this point? Is this where we get a little bit of revenge versus a Shopify who already has bigger things on their plate? They're looking at the major in addition to this tournament. It's why we probably didn't see TSM, because they're probably headlong into a boot camp prepping right now,
Mm.
whereas Shopify are here in BTS Pro Series. But we'll see. I think this could be maybe a wound as well to Shopify if they do get taken down by Nouns early and lose BTS Pro Series, get knocked down the lower bracket, and then have to go to the major. I don't know. There's some exciting stuff, as well as I think Five Rat having to take on their biggest dog yet.
Mm-hmm. And we'll swing it back over here. You got your look at the bracket, and I do want to say just one thing here that's always kind of nice. Phase 3 had 3 directly invited teams, right? It was Shopify Rebellion, it was Nouns, and it was Beast Coast. All 3 of those teams are guaranteed top 4. So every once in a while we get kind of iffy. Every once in a while, the Reddit threads will come out of like, oh, X team got directly invited and like they lost in the first round and things like that. So it's nice to see that this time at least, BTS didn't miss the mark. They invited the teams who obviously showed up in this playoff bracket and are doing very well for themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, love the SA guys. They're beasts of their own. But 3 NA squads get through. 3 NA squads still in the tournament. Let's go, baby. For a tournament that has been dominated by SA squads for the longest time. I don't know. This is where EG, where are you? Maybe next time, because your boys are not able to put up nearly as confident a fight, and they're also kind of cannibalizing each other. So many SA versus SA matchups just resulting in that elimination. I mean, these are the fewest SA teams I've seen in such a long time.
Kind of interesting how that has swapped, because when we covered phase 1 and we're going into phase 2, we were kind of lamenting that there were so few North American teams. I think just 2 that moved into phase 2, Five Rats and Wildcard. And obviously Five Rats still very much alive, going to be playing tomorrow, and then 2 more NA directly invited squads. So the tables have turned, and all it took was directly inviting North American teams. But as I said, there's a reason they were directly invited, right? They're that good. They've proven it here. But the real test going to be coming up here, right? And when we get down to the sort of nitty gritty, the back end of this bracket, we really will see which of these teams is ready to definitively maybe take a step past the others.
Yeah. And of course, coming up on the last final days, it's where you really start thinking about that best of 5 format. You think about who has enough strategies, whether things are going to have to change up drastically. It's where it's really hard to tell coming to those last few days who's going to have their best shot. But like I said, and I'll keep saying, the Dota is only going to get better from here on out.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, hope you join us for that. We are just about ready to shut things down here. I do not believe we're getting an interview at this stage. If that changes, obviously we'll let you know. But that is it. 2 best of 3s were on the schedule for today. A pair of honestly relatively quick 2-0s ET sort of sets us up, but we will be getting into the upper bracket finals tomorrow, and not quite the lower bracket final yet, but 5 Rat 4 Seth versus Beast Coast is going to be a very high stakes, very entertaining lower bracket matchup. But that is for tomorrow. For tonight, we are going to be heading on out of here. It is the same start time. I know I said that like a half dozen times in phase 1 and phase 2, and it was wrong every single time. The schedule was shifting. This time, though, I mean it 100%. Same start time, 1 p.m. tomorrow. Watch ET. They will now change the schedule on me overnight, and I'll look like an asshole. But unless that happens, 1 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, I think we are starting with the upper bracket finals matchup. So it'll be Nouns versus Shopify up first.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys there.
So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you join us tomorrow. See you later.